Everyone. It is 6 o'clock and I would like to call this meeting to order. If you would please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please, Con.
Chris Kowski. Here. Terry Loeffler.
Here.
Deb Allen. Here. Jeff Shaw.
Here.
Jim O'Rourke.
Here.
Dave Braga.
Here.
Connie Preston here.
Thank you. Item number 4, declaration of conflict of interest. If any board member has any conflict with any agenda item, please let us know right now. Okay, seeing none, I would like to move on to item number 5, public comment. It is 6 o'clock still, and I'd like to open public comment. Anyone for public comment? Seeing none, it's 6:01, and I'm going to close public comment. Moving on to item 6, consent calendar. Purpose of the consent calendar is to expedite business by grouping non-controversial items together to be dealt with in one board motion without discussion. Any member of the public, board, or staff may ask that any item of the consent calendar be removed and placed elsewhere on the agenda for full discussion. This evening we have department reports from Treasurer, Planning and Zoning, and Harbor Master report. I believe our fire chief is going to give us a verbal report. We do not have a Parks and Rec Committee report, and we have minutes from the 9/12/22 board meeting. We also have post-audit invoices dated 9/15/22 through 9/30/22. Any member of the public that would like anything removed and placed elsewhere? Any member of staff?
I have one thing, Mr. Shaw, just in regards to some information about a potential boat in the marina. Can you bring that in?
Okay.
Anytime you want.
Okay, if you wanted to just let the board know about that during your remarks,
Sure.
your officer remarks, and then if the board wants to put anything on the agenda, we can do that.
Motion to approve as submitted. Support.
Have a motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Agenda approval. Any modifications to the agenda? I know our harbor master found a boat that he's interested in, so maybe we could just add that right now and we can discuss it. So that would be item G, 10G. Boat for marina.
I wonder in the water now.
It's a nice one.
No. Anything else? Okay, I would look for a motion.
Motion to approve as modified.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and support. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Supervisor's report, you guys have that in front of you. I did talk to our attorney and I've talked to Michigan Broadband. It appears that if they stay on a state road, they don't have to do permits with us for the Metro Act. I'm still kind of checking that out because they're trying to get us to sign up for their service at the marina, which I'm not sure if they're staying on a state road and all that works. So anyway, I'm still trying to figure out that. The rest of the stuff you can see in my report. Any questions about that, about the report? Okay.
Thank you for your kind comment.
You're welcome. Trustee remarks. Any trustee remarks this evening?
Yeah, how many people were at that open house here?
I don't know what the total was, but it was a really good turnout. There was a lot of people here.
Was it like full or?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
Yeah, the room was full of people for most of the time, and then they were supposed to be done at 6. At 6:45, I kind of chased them out of here because I was waiting to leave. So, and they still had people that were talking about it and all that kind of stuff. So it appears their number one, the most popular option for down there is a roundabout that includes Bay Street. Initially when we talked, they were concerned because they only had $500,000 to buy property for that. And they're going to have to buy that somebody's gonna have to buy that radio station, which is listed for 2 million right now, I think. And then part of Aroma's parking lot and part of Tom's parking lot to create the roundabout that they wanna create. So they're trying to get the city to buy the radio station as a park, to continue their parkland there. Whether that all works out, I don't know, but, and so I asked Dan directly, so if you don't get the money for this, how are you going to do this roundabout? And his comment was, we have one shot at this, so I think we'll get the money one way or another. So they're really hoping and planning on doing a roundabout there.
So I understand, I don't know if it's an appropriate time to ask a question, but they gonna move the tar trail to the A side.
Correct.
But are they also gonna have a pedestrian crossing somewhere on the other side?
Yeah, so the TART will stay right on the bay, all the way from the old Holiday Inn, all the way to
Yeah.
Cherry Bend Road. Well, there will be a 10-foot multi-use path all the way to Cherry Bend Road, but the actual TART is what they are proposing. It will still go behind the Holiday gas station, and there will be a crosswalk right there by the Holiday gas station. That's what they're proposing with a pedestrian island and perhaps signalized, but they're still working on the details of that.
So the roundabouts work okay if there's just cars going around.
Right, if there's no pedestrians.
There's no pedestrians
Right.
crossing.
Right. Initially, they had a crosswalk right in the roundabout where the current TART trail is. And everybody's like, what's the point of having a roundabout if you're gonna have that? So they eliminated that. They may still have a crossing across M72 up by the Tom's driveway, Tom's and Aroma's, that would go across there, but that wouldn't be signalized. So they're still working out the details of it. They're trying really hard, I'll give them that, and they're looking for as much public input as they can get. So I'll give them a lot of credit, and we're still, that's 2025, so they're trying to get the details. Dan and I have talked a lot, because we don't want to have happen in Elmwood what happened with the city, where they were all ready to build it, and the city said, oh no, we don't want it that way. And then it put the whole project back 6 months, which is why we're 2025 now instead of 2024. Because of that whole conflict with the city. So it'd be great if everybody's on the same page when they come with a big basket of money and want to build it. So it's kind of what we're aiming toward. That's why we're looking for as much public input as we can get. So, sorry, I know we got kind of sidetracked.
Okay.
Any other trustee remarks? Okay, engineers report. Ken, you got anything for us before our agenda item?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll give you just a quick update on the Timberley water system. So I have some answers, but not all of them yet. I did go up there and I went through the process with the DPW guys and figured out how they check it. The concern before was the tank waterlogged? Is there something obviously wrong with it? Well, it seems like it's operating as it was initially. So it's not waterlogged, they check it, there's a sight glass on there. They actually add air to it on a weekly basis. So they are checking that. It just has a very, very narrow pressure range. So it uses about this much of a 9-foot tall pressure tank. So that's where it appears to be consistent with the as-built drawings. So the system looks the same. The only difference now is they manually put air in versus an automatic compressor recharging it. So we got that determined. The solution, I want to see some pressures before I'd make a recommendation one way or the other. I'm still looking to get set points on how they have it set, the DPW has it set, and also pressures around the system upstream of that. Just to, because sometimes you can expand the pressure range to get more water volume moving through, longer pump times, but you can only expand it so much with the pressures we're talking about. So there's a few more data items I'd like to get, but that's where I am with Timberley.
Questions on that?
I do have a question. There is a schedule for pressure tanks, the amount of volume of air compared to the amount of volume for water on non-bladdered tanks. I would suggest you take a look at that.
Okay.
And then you'll get a better idea on what the capacity is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yep.
Be great. And hopefully by next month we can have some of those numbers, if you can do it.
I'm trying.
I know, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ken. Other officers' remarks, Chief or Harbor Master Moon?
Good evening. Just the verbal update on September's numbers. We have, last September, we had 48 calls. Again, most of them medical, quite a few alarms that we dealt with. The big one that for the month was the boat fire down in Harbor West Marina, which saw a good response. We got assistance from Traverse City, and there just so happened to be a Sutton's Bay unit in the area, and they dropped in and gave us a hand too. Overall, a good stop on that fire, and got investigated. Doesn't look like it was anything untoward, I guess. Possibly electrical, undetermined, but it was limited to the interior of the vessel and didn't spread to the dock, so that's, or other vessels, so that was fantastic. We had a walk-off. Somebody with a medical condition that disappeared for about 45 minutes, an hour. So we did a little search over here in Graylickville and were able to help locate them. Overall, we gave a little help and received a little help last month, working with Cedar on a fire. Sutton's Bay, as I mentioned, came over, and we've also had to lend a hand to them on a couple of medicals. So, and as of recent, well, I guess it would have been just yesterday. It was a busy day. We, just for your awareness, we sent Matt Johnson, one of our lieutenants, out on a Mavis assignment. So he is with an engine strike team up in Menominee on a paper mill fire. So there was a call out last night for resources to respond up there and assist with that fire that's been going on since Thursday. So I had 2 offer up help, and they only needed the one, so Matt was the one that got put in charge of an engine, so wish him lots of luck and safe operations up there. So, a couple of maintenance items over the month. We had a warranty issue on the new engine that went and was serviced at Grand Traverse Diesel and is back and working properly. Some pinion on the underside there. We had SCBA flow testing, hose and ladder annual service testing. That all got completed. Put some new tires on our trailer, and which hadn't been swapped out in quite a long time. Pretty much almost since the purchase of it. The other item we had on 111, the newer engine, is we had some shelving and storage improvements made with the assistance of Travis Palmonde down here. He did some welding and provided some materials and labor to help improve our shelving and storage options on that engine. So thanks to Travis and his crew. And the one item that I think everybody's aware of, and I'll just address it, is this past month, September, Captain Noren, retired Captain Noren from the fire department, passed away, and we've been in contact with his family. So nothing has been planned as far as services or memorials, but he was a huge asset to the department over the years. Helped move our EMS program forward, helped set a standard on it, which was well received, and saw us get to that full-time status, one of our first full-time employees over there. And, when staffing was tight, he was one of those guys that you could rely on to respond, often handling calls by himself. So following the footsteps of some others in the past that have been those late-night responders, even solo. So thanks to Captain Noren, and our sympathies to his family. So. Other than that, I don't think I have a whole lot more. So anything from the board?
Any questions for the chief? I should mention too, Chief and I and Connie actually met with our labor attorney regarding the unionization stuff, and just started talking about it. We haven't actually heard anything from the union, So, you know, we're basically waiting to hear from them. When we hear from them, then we'll actually start negotiating. So, yep.
One other item real quick is, we had a scheduled open house this coming Saturday, but due to some staffing issues, we were unable to staff, put enough staff on hand, so we're gonna shut that down. People are welcome to stop by, we just can't dedicate staff to be there in the station to provide tours and answer questions, so.
Anything else for the chief?
I have a question. When you sent the individual at the Menominee, did you send a truck up too?
No, the way the Mavis system worked, and it actually looks really good, it looks like a patchwork of many departments offering one or two people. Two engines that came out of our division, which is Mavis 3701, which includes Grand Traverse, Leelanau, Department of Benzie, and Otsego and Alpena. I know it's kind of big, but an engine out of Paradise Township and Grand Traverse, and an engine from Grand Traverse Metro were sent with drivers. Leland, Elmwood, Glen Lake, Cedar sent one person, and Grand Traverse was able to send two, someone from Paradise, a strike team leader out of Elmira, Chief Drury over there. He's heading up the strike team, so this patchwork gets put together, and you're in this engine, you're in Justin, and just so happens that Matt got put in charge of that engine. So he has a crew that he's responsible for, and this is unique. We've been mobilized quite a couple of times. This is the first time we've actually been put on the road for an incident. So they should be up there and in working order right now. They left this morning at 4:15 a.m. So,
Good, thanks.
yes, sir.
Thanks, chief. Thank you. Excuse me.
Good evening. As you know, the current boat that we have at the marina is no longer operable. It can be repowered, but with the type of setup that it is, it needs it's basically, it's got a very low seat, which is maybe about 6 inches off the deck of the boat, and it's not really a good machine for what we need as far as being able to go out and inspect moorings, pull things into the boat, assist boaters and various other things. So we've been in the market I've just been watching the market for boats, and everything from having the dream boat built down at Scully's in Louisiana, which was $74,000 for a 22-foot boat, to these Boston whalers. The one that you have in front of you, I actually found out late that Leelanau County was auctioning off their Boston whaler. It's a 15-foot Montauk, and it is a 2011 model. It was the Leelanau County Sheriff Department boat. It has a 60 horsepower Mercury on it. Everything is in good order, good running condition on a trailer. They're going with a bigger, deeper V boat. These whalers are nice, but they're terrible in rough or big water because they're so flat on the bottom that they really beat up the rider. But we don't have to worry about that for what we would need it for.
So Pete, we'll do the details on the boat as the agenda item.
Oh, okay.
So, and then we can actually vote on it and all
Oh,
that
yeah,
stuff.
okay.
So,
So you know about that, and
yep.
yep. Anything else you want to know? Or no?
You guys have any questions
Since
for
I'm-
Pete about anything but the boat? Because I'd rather do this when we're in the agenda and then.
All right, I'm
actually
sorry, I
discuss. No, you're good.
apologize.
You're good.
All right. Good.
Looks like we're good.
All right.
Thank you, Pete.
Yep.
Any communications from the clerk?
I included a third quarter revenue expenditure report in there for you, in case you had any questions.
Okay. And the ballots have been rolling in.
Yes,
Absentees.
we've issued about 1475 and a little over 200 back in.
Questions for Connie? Okay. Our Beta millage presentation.
Good evening. I'm Eric Lingar, Director of Communications and Development for the Bay Area Transportation Authority. I'll keep my remarks brief. You guys have all the information in the packet already in front of you. But I just wanted to provide a quick update on what's happening in the world of public transit in our community, specifically here around Elmwood Township and Leelanau County. So Beta has been continuing to offer service to both Grand Traverse and Leelanau County. We're averaging right now about 1,000 rides a day. And since 2017, we've given over 2 million rides, with a large majority of those being rides provided to seniors, folks with disabilities, and people who need public transportation. The other thing that Beta's been working on is kind of right-sizing its fleet. We've been putting a lot of focus on having alternative fuel vehicles. So we put a lot of miles on the road, and so we've been trying to add propane vehicles into our fleet. Actually, the number in your packet here is 46%, but we're closer to 50% now of vehicles that run on propane. And what's that good for us is low or no emissions at all from that. Cleaner and a better fuel source for us, because we have actually a fueling station for propane right on Beta's property, and we don't have to fight with the pump price as been experienced as much with the gasoline and diesel. The other thing that we'll be adding to our fleet soon is electric vehicles. We've got on order 3 electric buses that are coming our way. When we get them, that's a great question. As far as production goes, as you can imagine, you've seen in the consumer vehicle industry that it's been delayed. The same thing is kind of reciprocal spilling over into some of those things as well. But we're continuing to diversify our fleet and also kind of right size it to the vehicle type too, so that smaller vehicles are running on those onesie twosie runs versus a larger vehicle, so that it's appropriately fixed. We're continuing to offer a wide variety of services. Our fixed routes, such as Route 10, which runs right up down M22 from Traverse City up to Sutton's Bay and back. We still have our link service, which you can call up and schedule. And even part of Elmwood Township has our on-demand service, which we're piloting too, which is kind of like, if you ever used an Uber or a Lyft before, where you use an app to schedule your ride in real time, we've got buses that do the same thing. Another popular thing, and I know you guys mentioned the TART trail a little bit, our bike and ride program continues to be very popular, where we've got a bus that's got storage for 11 bikes in it, and people can ride the TART trail up and take the bus back or do the flip side either way from either direction. So the other big thing that's on the horizon for Beta, so November 8th, we've got a millage request on the ballot. It's a renewal at a lower rate from what the voters approved in 2017. So it's 0.4788 mils, and this is just for the continued operation of Beta. So we'll continue to provide rides to work, health and wellness, to the pharmacy for all of the folks that need it. We've had a lot of milestones over the last couple years. Like I mentioned, we launched an on-demand service. We've been diversifying our fleet. We've got the Bayline route that was added, which some of you, if you've ever taken that, it's the free one that runs back and forth through Traverse City. That's a great one to try if you're trying to get your feet wet for using that. And then we've got another 5 to 10 year roadmap that we're planning out right now. That's just kind of wrapping up with Beta's board, which it will look at what Beta will look like in the community as public transit in the next 5 to 10 years. So kind of baby steps and then big picture as we go from there. The other thing that's kind of happening on our radar is Beta is in the partnership with the Traverse City Housing Commission to build one of the first transit and workforce housing projects in our region. It's one of the first in the Midwest. It tackles 2 of the challenges that are facing our whole area, which is affordable housing and affordable transportation. We just closed on the property. It's on Lafreniere and Hammond Roads in Garfield Township, 50 acres over in that area, and it will have transit and housing kind of located right next to each other. It'll also have a child care facility, not run by Beta, of course. That'll be run by an outside entity that will have just the ability for folks to be able to commute, maybe have a single-car family, and offer park and ride options for folks as well. So there's lots of exciting things happening with public transit, and I just wanted to provide a quick update for you guys and answer any questions as well.
Any questions for Eric?
Eric, what's the timeline on the housing and transit project? I see here Phase 1 project completion,
Yeah.
2024. That's pretty ambitious.
It is. So cross your fingers if there's contractors available. That's what we're lining up right now for the spring. So we may move a little bit of dirt this fall, probably not with the weather starting to turn, but probably spring of 2023 is when we'll first start moving dirt, and then with the goal of by the end of 2024 to be built, to be in our facility, and the first 2 buildings of the housing project should be done by then too.
And this is not, none of this is contingent on the millage?
It is not. They are separate. So Beta got a federal grant from the FTA and state funding to pay for the new headquarters facility. And then Tony Lenti and the Traverse City Housing Commission got some money allocated through the state budget as well for their portion of the project too. So the millage is just for the operations of Beta.
Okay,
Yep.
thank you.
Great question.
Creative.
Yeah. Anything else? And look forward to you guys being involved with MDOT in 2025.
Yeah, so we were part of that initial kickoff discussion too, and looking at how the flow is going to work. And I mean, anything to improve flow, but of also being mindful of pedestrians and multimodal transportation for sure. Yeah, there's lots of those projects going around right now.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You bet. Item 9, old business, we don't have any. Item 10A, Brewery Creek parking lot update. Ken?
All right. So Jeff, Pete, and I met down and walked around the parking lot a little bit and discussed a few items and basically just, trying to make what's there work to the best we can. So what we did is we kind of took a look at it and just said, what if we get rid of the obstacles that are going to bother the trailers the most? The islands, the sharp peninsulas, and just try to do the minimum work to maximize trailers. Did everybody get to see the layout that was sent around? Okay. So this layout was, basically what I did is I just tried to figure out where could I get the most trailer parking in there. And this is what I came up with. The layout that's shown is 25 gravel spaces. And that's utilizing kind of that northwest corner of the parking area, and then also the far north end, kind of the other side of the creek. There are some gravel areas.
Are you talking about areas 13 and where?
Yep, 13 and 12, as you're looking at those
13 and
numbers.
12, okay.
You guys' map is pretty small. Yeah, those two, when we were talking about those, seemed like good areas to just put gravel in. Not spend as much on pavement. Certainly it could be paved, but gravel seemed a reasonable option for those. Everything interior of the currently paved areas, we'd patch that back with pavement. You don't want a gravel hole, obviously, in the middle of the current pavement. One thing that I looked at is, and we were out there walking on the far west end. In order to fit trailer parking in there, you pretty much would have to take out most of the concrete, and there's a lot of concrete, there's piers, there's utilities. It just seemed like an awful lot of work before you could park any number of trailer spaces in there. So without spending a lot of demolition and prep work, your probably best bet is to leave that as car parking. There's an existing parking lot there that can still be used, and not, if you want to keep the cost down, it's best to leave that lie, I think, at this point. The other part of that conversation is that could happen at any other time too, because it's basically a separate portion of the site. So one thing to keep in mind with this is it's more or less a Band-Aid, right? That parking lot has held up pretty well for how old it is, knowing that it was not finished. It never had the top course of asphalt put on there. I mean, there's certainly some areas that need to be pulled out and replaced because there's no pavement left. There's big holes or it's completely unraveled. And I did include some of those in my estimates. There's some areas that just have to be replaced. If you tried to pave over it with a top coat, it would show through within a year, probably. But the rest of it would be left as it is, a top course of asphalt put over it, and get what we can out of it.
The retention ponds, are they gonna be modified?
So one thing that they were not be modified. So the one nice thing about this approach is there's really no utilities that need to be modified. There's a couple sanitary manholes that would have to be lowered just to get them, because they're kind of poking out of the ground. But the water main doesn't have to change. Some lights would have to come out that are in those parking islands. But the retention ponds are all staying where they are. We would have to go through a soil erosion permit and stormwater review with the county. So if we come to the point of we need more storage, at that point, we may have to add another basin. But one thing with this site is, historically, we've looked at this for a number of years, is those basins have filled in, some of them pretty extensively, and it would be recommended to get them cleaned out. So and that process would require DEQ permits to get that done.
So price that you're looking at right now is not including any work on the retention areas at all.
Correct.
So this could substantially increase.
Correct. So that's, the cost estimate that I gave you is just the parking improvements. It's not maintenance on the stormwater system.
What's that?
Electrical's a big deal, 20,000.
It's basically taking out what you got.
Right. And I should have made copies for you guys. This is how it is existing right now, so you can see those are the islands and the
Yeah.
lights and everything they're taken out.
You know, that's one thing that I've been saying over and over and over and over again. It would be really nice if we had a better diagrams, better sketches. I mean, Jim and I were just talking, and Jim was asking where the gravel areas are. And it would be so easy for you guys to do an overlay of a blacker portion of the parking lot compared to a gravel portion and kind of break it down. Our maps are nowhere close to, well, yours is bigger than what I have, and it's a different deal.
But I couldn't find 13.
Well, that's kind of what I'm saying. It would be pretty easy to, this is a pretty crappy map from an engineering firm.
Yeah, it should.
In my estimation.
It should look like this.
Yeah.
Again, it would
That would be
make
nice.
sense, because you're
Yes.
asking us to make a decision on something that is relatively, well, at first glance, you wouldn't know where you were at. But anyways.
Well, I think I think Ken knows what we want from now on.
Yeah, I'm happy to drop off plans for you guys.
Yeah,
That's not a problem.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
something
when it comes
Sure.
to engineering and money,
Yeah,
absolutely.
especially when you're talking this kind of money.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Hey, when will we know on water runoff and permitting, if we have to do something? God, I can't believe we have to do something with the water retention there. You can't retain what it's got.
Right, the maintenance would have to be done. And that's as soon as we contact the drain commissioner and have that discussion with them.
What did you do last time? We brought in A1 and drained the whole thing, right?
No, they just jutted out the one culvert that was causing that immediate issue,
And
but
Was that just a one-time thing, or were we putting on a maintenance schedule to do that?
no, it was just a
or-
one-time deal.
But the ponds are full. The vegetation is growing probably 2 foot in the bottom of each one of the retention ponds. So the as-built for that parking lot cannot contain the same amount of water as the parking lot was designed for.
Yeah. Yeah, and there are structures that are failing out there too.
Say it again?
There are structures that are failing out there because they are so full of sediment,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
so.
So it'd be good to know what that cost is going to be at the same time, because I'm sure it's gonna have to be done. This is a good start, though. A little bit lower.
Yeah,
by
better than
100.
2 million.
Well,
Excuse me.
it is a good, did we ever figure out the maximum amount of money we can get in a summer from this place?
I don't know that we've ever run those numbers, but, I mean, there's about 6 weekends a year that we fill it up.
But maybe by the next meeting, so I'd really like to see what, and if we do this, and how much more can we expect to get in the 6 weekends or 8 weekends? I just want to.
I don't know that it'll pay for it, ever.
Well, that's kind of where I'm going to, but,
If I could jump in, the people that launch across the road don't pay anything extra to park over there. That's part of their launch fee, as long as they retrieve within a day, 24 hours. Is that not right, Peter?
They have, they only park daytime.
Daytime,
Not
yeah.
overnight.
That's what I said, within
Yeah.
24 hours or whatever it is, so you generate no extra income.
and
for-
unless we raise those rates.
and
Well, but we have to have this parking for our DNR, to meet the DNR requirements for the number of slips.
And
the
that would be
launches we
kind
have.
of nice to have that information at the same time, to figure out where we need to be for parking. Because I know we eliminated, what,
70.
half parking at the marina.
Yeah, we did.
70-some spaces, right?
Yes.
So,
Yeah, so if we could figure out a little bit where this is going and how to generate, I think, to go along with what works.
so what do we need Ken to do? This is way better than 2
It's a
million.
good, it's a,
You know.
it's a great start. I just wanted some additional information to.
Okay. So Pete, can you get us that information from the DNR?
As far as. what we-
Exactly how many spaces we need?
I think we had that several years ago when we had our meetings with them, and we were re-footprinting the harbor, and then we had pledged to replace that with parking across the street. We had 132 parking spaces. We now have 76, I believe,
Okay,
on the water side, and,
we can get that number.
yeah.
We'll
I think we might have it
we'll find out what the
somewhere.
number is exactly, and
I don't know
that
if they're,
between,
I don't know if they have a set number, because we're talking about two different things. Our launches don't have a big deal to have X amount of spaces for the launch. It's the boat slips,
right.
the single space.
Well, aren't the boat slips, that parking is regulated by our zoning ordinance, isn't it?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is. It's a
And
half a
we had
parking
to-
spot per slip.
And I don't know a marina that has met typical zoning for the parking spaces. Like, some will call for 2 parking spaces per boat slip, which isn't a possibility when you got 200 boat slips and moorings. So, there's always a variance or whatever you call it given, but we can look into that.
Well, there's at least 6 weekends a year in the summer that we need someplace to put those other cars and trailers. I mean,
Correct.
otherwise, because the other option is, once we're parked full, we close our launch.
We do
Which-
stuff that lot when we do, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we
And
stuff,
then-
I mean, it's full. So, and in the past, we've always chosen to continue to serve the people that drive here to launch their boats and, try to create a place for them to park. So, I mean, I see this as something we need to do.
Well, I do too. I just think it's, instead of buying swampland, we're improving swampland.
Right, because we already bought it.
Yes.
Yeah,
But I don't want it to go out there, this is what we're spending with not even knowing how much
sure.
money is gonna come in, or if it's done right and improved, how much more money is coming I just wanna, you know, you can do that estimate, I know you can.
I would personally like to see an estimate for the retention area to see what it would cost to improve that. If we approved $200,000 for parking area and we don't have the retention area confirmed, we're just throwing money at an object down the road that we're going to have to deal with. The other thing I would like to say is some of the boats that are at the marina now for winter storage should be relocated. If this is done, if this is finished, should be relocated across the road. You know, the boat should not be just all of the parking on the water side.
Okay.
And that'll generate more income for
Sure.
the facility, if you're gonna do that.
So can we get those numbers without, I mean, is that something, the numbers for the drainage?
Yeah.
That's something you can
We can
get for
pursue
us
those, yeah, we can get an estimate.
before we proceed with this?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
In
permitting.
my estimation, all of them
Estimates.
need to be cleaned out, even in the
Excuse me.
north of the buildings that are there, those retention ponds up above,
Right.
corner gym,
Well-
they're lousy, they're
Yeah.
full.
Well, back when we had such severe flooding, Wade Trim had given us an estimate of, I think, 70,000 to clean all those. And we opted to just have Northern A1 come in and jet out the one.
Right.
I'm pretty sure it was
Right,
70
I
grand.
think you're pretty close.
So I would anticipate you're looking at a number similar to that, if not more,
Plus 10.
you know, so.
Yeah.
But if
So-
we're, you know, if we're going out and borrowing money or looking at funds,
Right,
we better do it all.
okay. If you can get that for us,
Absolutely.
you can bring that along with the Timberley stuff next month.
Yes.
Is there any conflict with the private businesses down there with us doing this?
No, actually, part of the deal when this deal was done was fixing the
Yes, it was.
pavement that went through there.
Yes, it was.
And the agreement was at the time when it was improved that the township would pay for that improvement
That
of
low
of that,
spot area.
that low spot and where the damage was.
So-
So there's no conflict down there. They're patiently waiting.
Patiently.
I can guarantee you that.
Okay.
Patiently waiting. Yeah.
I have a question. Is there any restriction why this could not be like a permitted parking?
There was a time when we talked about gated and maybe having a card or something like that and permits. I think it was more the logistics of doing that we kind of.
What was the question?
If there's any restriction in terms of this possibly being like a permit, like you would get a permit if you're
park.
from the marina to park there, so that if there was any potential revenue from any other sources for, I don't know, trucking or whatever that could potentially utilize this or something. or-
Well, I know the borough.
MDOT, when they're doing the
yeah,
construction
The borough
work.
had contacted me and wanted to know if we had parking that we could lease for their employees, because they don't have much parking for their restaurant there. And they were looking at that gravel lot, saying, so perhaps there would be some people that would pay to be able to park their cars there, maybe park and ride, maybe on there.
Yeah, The
So-
Discovery Center might be another one too,
Yeah,
their plans.
so,
Okay.
something for us to consider, I guess.
Wow, yeah.
So, if you guys have any other questions for Ken or any other thoughts before we send him out of the way?
Nope.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks, Ken.
Appreciate it. Zoning map amendment request. Sarah?
Hello all. So in your packet, you have a memo from me that kind of summarizes the request, so I won't go into too much detail, but essentially Jim Hill has a map amendment request for 3 abutting parcels to change them from residential 1 to neighborhood commercial. So this is, just a hop, skip, and a jump from the Brewery Creek parking area. So the memo does include 2 maps, our current zoning map and our future land use map. The memo also references, it went to the The county planning department, they submitted their comments, so I included their staff report as well as, you know, an excerpt of their minutes, and I also included an excerpt of the planning commission's minutes when they approved to recommend it and move it forward to the township board and the county as well. It does meet our master plan. I mean, again, if you look at our future land use map, majority of at least one of those parcels is earmarked for high-density commercial activity. The intent, my understanding is Jim Hill wants to move forward with expanding his pre-existing non-conforming use. And in order to do that, he needs to first change the zoning map to a designation that would allow for outdoor boat storage. So this is kind of like the first step. He'll need to then apply for a special use permit for the expanded boat storage. Happy to provide further detail. I said I was going to keep it short, but then just kept on going on.
So this is, you guys probably all know where this is at. He's been storing boats there for a long time.
Just above Wares.
Yep, yep, just up the road from
The old,
Wares. The
Phil,
old
you know,
Phil's
Steve
well
Phil.
drilling,
Yeah.
yep. You know, when you drive along there, it doesn't look like a residential spot. I mean, it looks like it'd be part of the neighborhood commercial, so.
I'd make a motion, we accept the introduction and publish for consideration at the November 14th, 2022 Township Board meeting.
Support?
Okay, we have a motion and support. Discussion?
Good work.
I have a question about buffering. What is the requirements for buffering between the road and that commercial activity?
Oh, off the top of my head, I don't
And
know.
the reason I ask that is, in most cases in the township, I'm not exactly sure about right now, but there was a restriction of boat storage to a road. And unless we know what we're doing, this is gonna be one of these things that's, if it's going for boat storage, if it's going for something else, I'm not sure.
Like motorhomes or something?
Well, motorhomes and boats and stuff like
Okay.
that. And
RVs,
at
yeah.
one point, it was 200 feet.
I don't know off the top of my head. I need to look at our zoning ordinance.
So,
But
okay.
again, I mean, what is before, you know, what went before the planning commission and is what is before you guys now is just the changing of the map. Any use will also then need to go through the appropriate permitting.
Okay. Well, my question kinda is in history, we lose people on the planning commission, people on the ZBA, everybody changes, and sometimes they don't know exactly what's in the ordinances unless somebody tracks that, you know, or specifically looks, because the ordinances are pretty detailed.
And that'll all be vetted out once,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
this is, if this becomes changed,
Okay.
then when they come in front of the planning commission with this. for
Yeah,
their
and
special use
that's
permit.
been reiterated. I mean, it was reiterated to the Hills before it even went to the planning commission. I met with him multiple occasions and
Yeah.
let him know
No,
that
I
process.
understand.
and then-
Straightforward question.
Well, the planning commission will do a findings of fact for that special use
Right.
permit, which would
Yeah.
include
Right.
standards right out of the zoning ordinance.
Yeah, and if it's found that, you know, they do need to request a variance, that would be done before they'd go to the planning commission.
So this will be right across from the Brewery Creek parking, when
Yep.
all the boats pull out.
Yep,
And where are you gonna change the driveway? To Brewery Creek at that point?
that's
I
right.
mean, it is,
And
it's right there.
Sarah, just one more comment. The complaint received was basically not about any activity or noise,
Right.
just that they noticed it was,
It
Growing.
expanded,
Right.
yeah, and so, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, and then, yeah,
Right.
based on, after my original letter, I didn't understand, like, how far back there had been boat storage on the site. I was well aware of the, pre-existing, well business that, you know, changed. But yeah, again, any expansion of use, non-conforming use, you can't do under our zoning ordinance, so this is the first step.
Okay. Any other discussion? And,
Get a motion.
Motion second.
yeah,
Voice.
do I have to do a roll call on this? No? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, sir. Naughty Cat request. Good evening, Jack.
Good evening. I sent you an email. Looks like you all have a copy. I made some copies. Does anybody need a copy? Do all look good?
Got it.
So I won't sit here and read word for word, but I'm Jack Nolan. This is my son Shane, the one that looks like a captain of the Naughty Cat. Also my business partner. We're here tonight to ask permission of Elmwood Township to have a professional contractor perform some exterior boat repairs over the winter. A little history on the Naughty Cat. It was built in Texas, Galveston, in 1988, 47-foot long, 28-foot wide. The weight is 20 tons. This was brought to Traverse City by Russell Schindler. He first started on East Bay running the Naughty Cat operation. He moved it in year 2000 to West Bay at the Holiday Inn. My son and I, we purchased the boat in 2008 and still currently run out of the, Delamar now, the old Holiday Inn. I included some pictures in there, and if you would turn to this particular picture, I was going to do some drawing on it of how we are proposing to build a lean-to to house the work that we want to do. So the lean-to is going to be built along the side. He has to have about 6 feet of space. And so there will be a structure built there. And actually today, when we pulled the Naughty Cat out, we put a tarp underneath. I'll just send a few of these.
Thanks, Jack.
And so that's where we're situated next to Perception. And so that's the side that we are asking to build. It would come out 6 feet, and it would be the height of the Naughty Cat. And as you see there on the bottom, there's a tarp. And the structure will sit on top of the tarp, and then we'll pull the tarp up and over on top of the structure. And so then, when we are shrink wrapping the boat, the shrink wrap will come all the way back around to the bottom of the structure. I'm probably not explaining it real well, but basically
Makes sense.
it'll have an envelope. This will be an envelope to do the work. He'll be doing light sanding, and then we're wanting to repair the gel coat. That's what our goal is. So let me go back to see.
Just on the one side, Jack?
Just on the one side, that's what we're asking. When I met with Pete, we were asking about also doing the stern, but I think we kind of would like to just kind of give this a try. It's expensive, and we're kind of wanting to see how this goes. The starboard side is where Shane lands the boat. That takes all the beating. That's where all the dock rash is. So now that the envelope is made, we've got this sealed. The shrink wrap guy it'll be taped, and then he will also kind of heat weld those together. So we're trying to make sure that there's no way that dust or anything can escape into the water. We will also have a boom. Let me see. That will run. If you go to this picture again, it will run all the way along the stern of the boat. We will, the equipment on site We need a generator. We're not looking to use any of the marina power. So that will provide all our electricity. We'll have a compressor under there. That's for his power sander. And so that runs that compressor. And then of course, our lights and anything else that he needs to run. We'll have a spill kit on site. Again, the compressor and the generator will be underneath the Naughty Cat. That won't actually be inside the lean-to shelter. We're proposing a kind of a more quiet type of a generator. The compressor will be a new compressor, and that will be the only equipment that will be sitting out. And another reason why we're wanting to wrap this in the white shrink wrap is we really don't want this to kind of stick out and make it look like Shantytown is being built there. We want this kind of to flow, and you might not even notice it the way we're kind of tucked in between perception. The quiet generator is obviously any noise. We're conscious of that. Greg Klang will come up here in a second, but I've been talking with Greg, and he's certified your clean marina. And so I got a lot of good information from Greg. And we talked about the gas cans to run the generator. And I thought, well, we'll just put them in the dock box. He goes, yeah, that's probably not what you want to do. He said, I would recommend that you keep the gas off-site when you come in, fill up the generator, and put the gas can away. So I've taken that advice. We would want to start on this. He would like to start on this in November, and he expected if he was doing the starboard side and the stern, it was going to take him till through February. We're scaling it back. We're looking just to do the starboard side. So I'm thinking November, December, and maybe in January. When I met with Pete, one of his concerns was parking. So I met with Kelly of Center Point, and the reason that Pete had a concern was that the parking lot's not plowed. How are you getting in there? What are you doing? And so we will purchase a couple spots where we can park and just walk over, and he'll be able to work. As I said, Greg Klang, I asked him to kind of join me here real briefly on Greg. He's founding member of a Clean Marina program for Michigan, 20 years as a lead certification specialist, certified Elmwood Township Marina, now trainer for the Association Marina Industries, Clean and Resilient Marina Program, past board member of the Grand Traverse Sport Fishing Association, owner of Marina Staff Training, seasonal launch holder for 10-plus years on the waiting list, as everybody, and have kept his boat in Elmwood Township for the past 20 years. So again, Naughty Cat's kind of hired him to kind of oversee what we're doing. So you got a second, and then I'm happy to come back and field questions and things that I'm sure that I missed.
Good evening. Jack asked me to weigh in on the environmental impact perspective, which is what I do and have done for many years. My recommendation to add a boom around the outside of the tarped area is that will be a sealed area. It's like a second fail-safe. I mentioned another idea of putting a containment skid underneath the equipment, again, as a secondary fail-safe, in case a compressor blows up, it cracks the block and spills I mean, this is a long shot, especially with brand-new equipment. However, we want to maintain the integrity of the environment and the potential, have double fail-safes, preclude any potential for any impact whatsoever because of the proximity to the water. And I think they've done a great job thus far, and I see there should be no concerns, especially in light of double redundancy for any potential spill activity. Another option might be a vacuum sander to be considered. We've discussed this briefly. I don't know exactly the details of their sanding equipment, as that's probably another contractor, but this is within the guidelines of the Clean Marina program. I am now working with a national, international firm, the Marine Industries Association, as Jack mentioned, and that's regarding development of new clean and resilient marinas to help diminish environmental impact from construction through completion and for modifications of existing marinas. And all of the activities proposed are within the confines and recommendations of those programs, statewide and nationally. Is there any questions?
You guys have any questions for Greg or for Jack? Pete, any questions for Pete either about this? Do we want him to weigh in at all, or?
I would say that Pete would have something to say about it, and.
Come on up, Pete. Join the crowd. Thank you, Greg. Thanks, Jack. Hey, Jack, before you leave, who is the contractor?
His name is Devin Lewis, and he does, he's professional fiberglass auto, and in your packet there, he will provide the proper insurance.
Okay.
And he's a one-man show.
Got it.
And I've seen his work. He just finished a friend of mine's boat. That's how I kind of got onto this.
Where's he out of?
I think he's on Cedar Run Road.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure, but I think that's where he's at. He has a little shop. He's got, he had a stroke, so he's got a little bit of a disability, and he's used to do this professionally, and so now he's just doing it to supplement. And so, like I said, it's a one-man show. There will be a bunch of people there, and
So you're gonna sand and re-gel?
Yes.
Exterior? On the one side?
just the one side.
Okay, and you think he's gonna be able to re-gel in what time of the year?
I asked him the same question, and he said, I need 50-degree weather. So that, and that's where some of this leeway is, and
So you're gonna heat as well?
there will be heat in there, yes.
Okay, all right. That wasn't mentioned earlier, but, okay.
You know about, you brought up vacuum sanders?
Yes.
Is that, I didn't see anything in here on fires. I mean.
And I apologize. Yes, Klang brought that up to me. He suggested a vacuum sanders. And so that's something that we would provide.
I mean, that would be a major element for me. I mean, we have Mr. Chuck Rainey here. He has sawdust and it goes in the floor outside to a bin. Wow, I mean,
Our plan was not to have anything go outside. We would vacuum up anything that's fallen on the floor and dispose of it, but we would also have the vacuum sanders.
That's my concern.
Any other questions for Jack while he's standing there? Pete, any thoughts?
Okay, so the reason that Jack's here tonight and Shane are because this is above and beyond what we would normally allow through any winter storage. We, in the past, have always strictly kept to very light maintenance type work, and along with what Greg said, we are a designated clean marina, so that there's some requirements that we have for people, tarping if you're painting, sanding, that type of thing. So the reason, like I said, they're here is because this is above and beyond what we normally do. We shut down for the winter. I'm there throughout the week, a couple days a week, doing paperwork and other things like that. We don't plow, we don't make access for other than fire truck routes and my parking and that type of thing. I've never had this type of request before. I brought it to Jeff. Jeff said, you know what, this sounds like something the board should see, and I agreed. And so I'll speak to this. Naughty Cat, everybody knows the boat. If you look at the Grand Traverse Bay, you're going to see it in operation. Jack and Shane are regular patrons through the marina. When foul weather comes, they will radio us and ask for permission to moor on the wall, and they'll come in and they pay, and they leave when we ask them to leave in the morning. You know, they got a big footprint, and so the biggest one on the bay, I would think. And they've always accommodated every request I've ever given them for that type of thing. So they've always been men of their word. They've never been a problem. They pay well and on time. They store with us every year. As far as the character of the company and the men that run it, they're strong. I'm very confident in them that they will do what they say they would do. If Greg's here tonight to say, you know, environmentally that's good, then I would agree with that as well. That, you know, if he's signing off on it, obviously he had to sign off on our operation and the things that I do down there. If you want to think about future, does this set a precedent or anything like that? Maybe there's a process for that type of thing. We have allowed light mechanical work, I would call it, which sometimes I'll come in and see a boat with the outdrive off and gone. And that's, to me, a little more than light work, but it might have happened in the middle of the night. And since we don't have gates, you know, you come into some things. At least in this case, with this type of setting, with the board's involvement, even our Clean Marina, former representative of our Clean Marina, maybe if we did set a precedent, you'd also want this level of approval for that type of thing. So I don't see it being a problem for the marina. And we have power down there in the fish cleaning station. If you want to rent them power and not run a generator with gasoline and that type of thing, maybe that could be worked out. I don't know what kind of demand their system would have, but other than that, I would yield to the board. I don't see any real impact environmentally, since it's signed off on with Greg and with being far enough away from residential and things. I would expect it'd be hard to hear, because our bubblers make a lot more noise than a sander on the side of a boat and that type of thing. So,
Questions for Pete?
Will you be inspecting this to make sure everything's up with the vacuum sanders and everything?
Yes, I would. I definitely, anything on the lot, I look into, make sure everybody's doing what they say they would do. Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions?
So to build a lean-to, what do you have to put some posts in the ground here and then like a board across the top and then fold
I'm so
your
sorry.
canvas over?
Your shrink wrapping and how are you going to build
The
that
lean-to.
system?
The lean-to.
So right now, we put our structure on the boat, which is hooped. And on those hoops, we'll be attaching 2x6, 2x4, and that will be so here's our hoop system.
Okay.
So along this side, we are going to attach a board. And that will be probably about a foot above the deck of the boat. And then that will be slanted, and I'll build just a regular frame by 2x4s that will sit on the tarp. And then I will sheet the top of it with 1/4-inch, 3/8 sheeting, and that will run the entire length of the boat.
So you're not gonna dig holes in the grass and put?
No.
It's just gonna lay boards on top of the grass
Yeah, just the only thing that will be on top of the grass would be the structure, a wall, basically, will be on that. That's it. Nothing will be in the ground. Yeah.
Okay.
Are you gonna shrink wrap that, Jack?
Yes, so again, that,
The whole thing.
we pull it up and then the shrink wrap will, instead of coming to, right to this point, this will come all the way down to the bottom of the frame.
Right.
Wall. So we're just kind of extending our normal shrink wrapping out over. I apologize on the vacuum. Greg and I talked about it. Nervous. Didn't follow
We got
up.
it.
But we actually did talk about it and it was, needed to be done.
I was nervous too.
For me?
Any other questions for Jack or Pete or Greg, Shane?
I just have a question about, like, the locking up of the equipment. Is there a potential for somebody to be able to get in there after hours to possibly steal the generator or anything like that? I mean,
Great question.
Anything's possible. We do have box systems for our generators, basically key and lock that wraps around like a big heavy-duty bike lock. But I mean,
What did we do last year with the generator?
same thing.
I think we locked it to the
Yeah, there's ways to
To
lock
the
it.
telephone, not telephone, to the light.
No, it was to the ship.
Oh, was it?
Yeah,
I thought,
and so
okay.
I've heard there's
so
been some
they're
often
tucked in
some
underneath.
lot of
it.
theft lately in Leelanau County and just things that are being stolen around here lately. So it's always possible. I mean, anybody can buy some box cutters and
Right.
take whatever, but we usually lock everything up with anything over $1,000 we're locking it. So.
Once we get some snow in there, there's not as much
Yeah,
activity down there.
Honestly,
so.
we've been there for I don't know how many years. I've never had anything stolen off the boat.
If there's constant traffic, generally people are pretty good.
Yeah.
And lights.
And with it tucked underneath the Naughty Cat, it kind of sits back in there, and you would really have to look to see anything. You're not gonna just see it from the road.
Great question.
Any other questions? Okay, we need a motion. Anybody want to make a motion?
I will make the motion that we allow them to do it now, and then I'll explain that after.
Okay. Okay, we have a motion and support. Let's have some discussion, Rookie.
Okay, as you know, I am the person that calls you all times and saying they're standing 3 feet from the water that's going, the dust is and stuff, and there's.
I do know that.
And I've called you, I bet you 6, 8 times in the last few years.
Yep.
I don't like any kind of maintenance work done down there, but if we use this to set the standard, okay, that, you know, somebody comes up and says, well, they let the Naughty Cat, well, this is what you gotta do to sand your boat.
Mhm.
Okay, that's, I mean, this is the protocol you're gonna do to work it done. I agree, boats are hard to move, it's expensive to move, but by the same token, I've seen a lot of stuff going to the water down there that I wasn't happy about, and I call you, so
Yep.
that's why I made the
So
motion.
no pressure or anything, guys, but you're setting the standard.
And we can always improve upon it.
Any other discussion? All in favor, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Motion passes. Thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Item 10D, budget amendment. You guys don't have to be polite and hang out for the rest of the meeting. You're welcome. Take them long to stand up, did it?
You're excused.
Connie?
So as we've discussed over the last couple meetings on these bonds that we needed to pay off. This would allow the transfer of the funds, increase the contributions to other funds from the general fund by $126,000. We'll transfer that into the Grelkville Water Main Special Assessment Fund and then pay off the bond. And then there are 2 more collections, but I think that last memo I did, it's only going to bring in another $16,000. So, but that'll go back into the general fund. And then as we budget for next year, we can discuss using the Grelkville actual operating fund to start paying that money back as well. So I would make the motion to approve Resolution 12 of 2022, a budget amendment resolution.
Support.
Okay, we have motion, and whichever one you want to pick as your support.
Everybody.
Multiple support.
Yes.
Yep. Rookie, Deb, and
Okay.
Terry. Okay, discussion? Anybody? We've talked about this. Roll call vote, please.
I'll vote yes. Dave Dargett?
Yes.
Jim O'Rourke?
Yes.
Deb Allen?
Yes.
Terry Lautner?
Yes.
Chris Makowski?
Yes.
And Jeff Shaw.
Yes, thank you. 10E, possible consultant for marina financial projections. Connie and I have been talking about this. You know, we have so many expenses coming up with the marina, with ADOC and BDOC and trying to finish the project at the marina and Bury Creek parking lot and all that. We were wondering if it would be a good idea for us to have somebody like Planton Moran or somebody like that that does this kind of thing, give us advice as to how much of our existing money to use, how much to finance, all that kind of stuff. Frankly, Connie and I looked at each other and said, I don't want to be responsible for what happens in 20 years if we use too much or use too little of what we've got, projecting how much we make and all that kind of stuff. That's not,
Yeah,
it's not in my wheelhouse.
right. And if we finance, how much
Right.
of a payment do we want?
Right. So what we're asking the board is for permission to go out and call a couple of those companies and at least get a quote as to what it would take for them to do something like this for us.
That would also show the money coming in.
Show how much is coming in
And the
and
rates.
projected, how much our rates are now. I mean, I would expect them to do a complete analysis of it. And I already called Plant and Moran, and they called me back, and I told them I'd call him tomorrow based on what the board decided tonight, if it's something that we would like them to, at least, like I said, give us an idea of what it would cost to have them do that.
Sounds great.
Does it require a motion for us to?
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like a
Just to
motion.
be able to.
Consensus, either one, right?
Yeah, well, but if you guys just want to do consensus, just to have, I'll make some calls and get at least 3 firms, if I can find 3, to come back with a quote as to what it would take, and then if you guys want to hire them, we can hire them, and
Great.
we'll,
Done deal.
we would just feel better about it.
Right, and our own auditors, of course,
Right.
he'd like to help, he said, but I need to be your independent auditor when I come in to do the audits.
And they've done this before, too.
Oh, yeah, yeah, so, all right, if that's a consensus, then I'll start making some more calls tomorrow. Surplus fire engine, item F, chief.
Hello again. So, yeah, you should have my memo in front of you. This is about the retirement of what now is our oldest engine. It's a 1994 International that has been moved into the reserve status definitely since we purchased our newest engine, the 111, which is the pumper tanker. The 113, which is the engine I'm requesting to be retired, it's not going to be used anymore, essentially, unless there was some sort of major catastrophic issue at the fire department. It's just not where we're at anymore. It's a big engine, big turning radius. It's been stripped of everything essential to outfit the other engines. We have 2 engines, essentially 2 tankers, with the one, and the newest being that kind of crossover. So this one's just waiting its turn to go down the road. I looked at a couple of websites for companies, and same year, same model, same pump style, water tank style, size, they're getting 20 to 40 thousand on those. I don't know if that's what we would get for this one, but it's been well maintained. And if you're gonna allow me to dispose of it, I would like the option to look at some of those sites. They might offer a better option for getting more out of it than maybe a bid site. I'm not sure. I'd just like the permission to look into that more, either myself or the supervisor. So,
Just curious, Chief, what are the other companies that are buying these? Is there any indication of what that use is for?
departments that are in more need than we are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
and
this is just,
typically, they have more of a, like this engine, when it was originally purchased, there was a lot of discussion about the petroleum farm that we used to have here, Marathon. Was Total, then it was Marathon. Having the capacity for a large pump, and that we didn't look at the need for maneuverability as much as we should have been at the time. And the size of this engine, it's tight and difficult with the dry waves that we're seeing going in and some of the roads that are being developed. And it's so a community that would have roads designed that is more accommodating to the larger wheelbase, the length of this engine might find it more useful. It's definitely got the tank and pump to serve. We're progressing, we're moving on. The safety features that are in trucks now, the technology that goes into them to make them more user-friendly, versatile. And that's the way we've been steering the department, is trying to find apparatus that is more of a crossover, versatile type that we can use for more than just one purpose. So I would see this probably in a more rural community with longer stretches, or in a more industrial, maybe a smaller community that has a small industrial area. So.
thank you.
I move we declare the engine surplus. Is that what we need?
If you take it out of the chief's opening lines that are in his memo and give them the authority to dispose of it.
Yeah, and give him authority to dispose of it.
Yeah, him and the supervisor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Through auction or
Him and
direct
the-
sale.
Him and the supervisor, they can look at different ways to dispose of it.
Support.
Okay. Discussion, so, yeah, Chief and I will talk about it and figure out the best way and how we can get the most out of it.
Yeah.
So, and with the site like Municipid, you can put a reserve. If we think we
Yeah.
can get more from another, we can list it for as many days as you want on Municipid or whatever with a reserve, and if it doesn't meet that, we can, or something like that.
Yeah,
We'll figure
yeah.
that out. if you
It
guys
seems
want.
like every chief report, we have all these bills on the new ones, and we don't have any bills on this old one.
Yeah, there is that. It's true.
We keep it around here, and we'll have bills on it.
Yeah,
though.
that's true. Any other discussion? We have motion support, so all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We'll talk, chief.
Excellent, thank you.
Yep. Item G, the vote. Come on up, Pete.
All right. Last but not least. Okay, so speaking of bid sites, this one's off of Interactive Procurement Technology by BidNet, which Leelanau County used to dispose of their 15-foot Boston Whaler with a 60 horsepower outboard on the back, 4-stroke, on a trailer. The boat has been well-maintained and is ready for service, doesn't need anything. I spoke with the users today, I gave them a call. I found out about it late. I went on, I actually bid on it. I bid on the boat with my own name, and I didn't get it. But neither did the guy who had the high bid, because they had a reserve, like you were speaking of earlier. So the boat, as of 4 o'clock, I think it was this afternoon, was off bid. So it's sitting there up at Leelanau, right around the corner. I did run just that boat on NADA, which is about as low as you can get. The recommended, suggested list price, $21,000, low price, $14,000. and 16 for average retail. I can tell you these in this area are bringing 20 to 24,000 for that size boat, believe it or not. And new, I priced one, did I put it on here? Anyways, they're running in the 40s. So the high bid was $10,111. My suggestion to the board, since we do need a boat like this, this would be perfect. It'd last us 10 years, easy. Whalers don't die. And the power plant is good. The Mercury outboards, I don't know, correct me if you disagree, Dave, but Mercury is really the top of the line in outboards these days, as far as dependability and longevity. They use that very little this year. They've got bigger boats that can take, the beating, but we're not out in the bay. We don't go out on runs with this. We do mooring inspections and inner harbor work. I just think it's a great match for what we need at a very good price. Boats are still running a premium right now. So I just thought if the board would approve.
Do you know what you have to pay to get it?
I don't. I was going to ask you to approve that, maybe to have Jeff maybe give the sheriff a call tomorrow and see what it might take to buy it, since the reserve wasn't met and they've got an amount that they want. Or maybe Jim could call them or something. I don't know. But.
Tell them we'll give them
After
10,000
November 8th, I'll call.
Oh, yeah.
I'll call him tomorrow, if you guys wanted me to.
Yeah, would you do that? Yeah, what's it gonna take, absolutely. It's, yeah, we know the boat, you can
Yeah.
inspect it, everything.
The boat's available, I'm sure, but part of the problem I have is how much value do we put in a boat that's just used for inner harbor type of use? Spending potentially, if you're talking about the high retail of it, of 20 grand, plus the trailer, those kinds of things. But even at 15,000 bucks is a lot of money for something that is used sparingly. And, me personally, I would hate to see it used for rescues or any type of thing like that, simply because of the liability and the untrained personnel. And we just shouldn't be going out of the harbor. But I don't know. I don't know how much you want to value you'd want to put on it. I definitely think the thing, me personally, is not worth 20 grand. It's not worth 15 grand. It's one of those things. It's here. They're going to put a value on it. The longer they sit on it, it's going to sell, or a boat like that, no matter where it's at. It's like us talking about the fire truck. You can put a $30,000 reserve in that fire truck all day long, and it'll expire quite often. But,
I know it ran up twice in the bidding.
it ran up twice.
Yes.
There was interest as it got close to the end. It ran up till a whopping.
But I mean, they've had it on the auction site twice.
Yeah.
It actually had to be listed.
I would think if municipality, us, could buy that boat for 13,000 bucks from Livermore County.
Well, if you guys would like me to make the call, I can certainly do that. If we're somewhat interested, I can make the call.
As a board, I think it's still over too much boat for the marina, but, I don't know.
I think it's worth a call, though.
Okay.
Well,
I also think it's nice that you
Once you
know
call,
who
you
the
know.
owner is, you know that it's been taken
know what I
care of,
mean?
and
Yeah.
it's not passed down from owner to owner, it's just been at Leona County and in the area, so.
It'd be interesting if there was an opportunity to do some sort of creative partnership, that if,
That's what I was thinking. You can use it anytime, yes.
Yeah. Give them
No.
5,000.
They're trying to do the same thing. They're moving inventory to be able to buy another product.
It's a lot quicker if there's a boat here, if they gotta run off.
yeah, let's
Somebody runs
have a
to lake
conversation.
or something.
Well, see, that's the deal. is
How much do we
they're
charge them
trained
to
for
use our fire station to make phone calls?
We don't charge them anything, do we?
No.
And how long have we been doing that? 1980? No.
Yeah, I don't
Remind them
know.
of that.
Right.
Their office that they use for free at the fire station.
Yeah.
How long has that been there?
Remind them of that.
How long's that been
Been
there?
there since
I mean, it's,
2002.
it wouldn't hurt to call and ask
2002,
what
that's
their
20
return is.
years at, what, 600 a month rent? Go ahead, add that up.
They definitely tell you what their reserve is.
You know we're kidding, Eric.
Excellent. We're negotiating with the
I
county.
won't have to call the sheriff tomorrow, he'll be calling me.
It would be a good asset to the marina, you know.
Sure.
But
So I'll make the call, if you guys would like me to, I will make the call and just find out what he says,
so when are we
what it would
going to
take.
know about that?
Well,
Because if you wait 30 days.
Sure, well,
you know, they're
that'll be
going
part
to
of my
get-
question is,
Yeah.
you know, can you wait till next month for the board? If not, if it's, if it seems to be a great deal, we can do a meeting.
Or is it cheaper
So.
after November?
Yeah,
When they have to store it.
yeah. So consensus, I will make the call tomorrow.
Great.
Excellent.
Do we have a place to store it?
Yes.
I was gonna ask you that, if it would
Yep, we do.
go in the garage there.
It'll go in the garage.
Okay,
Good, good.
great. Thank you, Pete.
And I do have somebody that wants to buy the old skiff.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
Why? He likes that old boat, he said, so.
okay,
Must be down.
yeah.
Thank you. We bought it from Donnelly.
We did,
Yeah,
we
Tom
did.
wants it back.
We did.
Yeah.
Well, he makes money every time he sells it.
More chain on it.
All right.
All right, item 11, Dave, payment of invoices.
Pay the invoices in the amount of $226,170.08.
Support.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Correct?
Did you hear Chris support?
Chris
did.
did support
I've
that.
got. Yep.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? We're on to extended public comment. Eric, you got anything for us? Oh, man. It is 7:31 and this meeting is adjourned.